we're not going to go through all 22, but I just kind of earmarked ones that I feel like would be interesting, is the Law of Duality on page 44. So in the long game, every market becomes a 2-horse race. So Coke versus Pepsi, right? Burger King versus McDonald's. And so it's kind of like in the industry you're choosing to be in, it's okay to be number 2, if you will, if you can last. That's the whole point. And I wanted to bring that up for this group because I want you to see that you have lasted, and that's something. Like the fact that you're still here means a lot in an industry that I'm also trying, as you can tell, trying to rewire your brains a little bit about, because there's some entanglement over here. And I'm not saying not to still play over here. I'm saying, like, I think open up the opportunity for actually, I'd say, more blue ocean. There's actually more blue ocean in different watering holes than red ocean in the current watering hole you're in. The Law of Duality says, though, if you last, you're already going to win. So I'm only bringing this up because I want you to see that you're the bomb.com. Like you are good. So to like have peace about it, like it's okay. And when I say number 2, it doesn't have to be, like you could be number 5 if, like, you know, but if you've lasted, you're already ahead 100x. Right. So back to nothing to prove, nothing to hide, nothing to protect, and nothing to defend anymore. So stop talking like that is the Law of Duality. Because if you talk like you're not ready when you already have earned your way here, this is the pattern we need to notice. We need to notice that we keep thinking we gotta prove, protect, defend, and we're like, Pepsi doesn't think, I know Pepsi wants to win, but they also know they'll never be as big as Coke. They will never, ever exceed Coca-Cola's reach. Why? Because Coca-Cola was smart from its outset. They decided they were gonna go global before Pepsi ever did. So there's Pepsi and there's Coke in Timbuktu, even if there is no Wi-Fi. Mm-hmm. Coca-Cola, from a brand equity perspective, has the most reach of any brand that has ever been created. So Pepsi decided, we're not going to try to fight, we're going to stay in it. Mm-hmm. And so what did they do? They did M&A first. So Pepsi got more innovative first than Coke. They were the first ones doing more acquisitions. They bought KFC, they bought Taco Bell. So instead of trying to beat Coke at the Coke to Pepsi game, they were like, we're going to buy real estate on the corners, because food is not food, food is real estate. Mm-hmm. Starbucks is not a coffee company, it is a real estate company. McDonald's is a real estate company in a franchise model. It is not a restaurant. And people, like, so I want you to think, like, don't think of yourselves as, I'm an online marketer or I have an online business. I think that's so restricting. It's like, actually, no, I'm a professional firm and we do educational services, we do, you know, these, you know, whatever it is. But it's like, stop thinking of yourself as a restaurant, when actually you're real estate. You're fucking like owning properties on the online space. Like the cool thing about online space, right? It's like the most infinite property you could ever own as a property owner. Like there are no restrictions. Again, bad, that can be bad too, because now there's all, like, girl, I'm with you. Like, I'm like, I could do all so many things, you know? It's like, and I want to, but I'm like, what is the piece of the infinite real estate available just that we want to really own, and who are the other players in it? And instead of like being fully competitive, how can we be friendly, maybe even friends? How can I take advantage of, like, they've already opened the door. Coca-Cola opened the door for sugar water, right? Pepsi didn't really come up until the late 70s. Coca-Cola has been around since the 1920s. And Pepsi was invented before 1970, but they didn't do well. Dr. Pepper was bigger than Pepsi. Pibb, Mr. Pibb, way bigger than, you know, RC Cola, even bigger than Pepsi for a while. Now I'm bringing you back, right, for us seasoned chickens over here. They all got bought eventually by both companies, all of those brands. Do you know that actually Dr. Pepper, this is really fascinating, it's owned by Pepsi, but half of its supply is manufactured in Coca-Cola facilities? Really? Because they have an agreement. And that's an example of first and second. They're playing together where production makes sense and they can lower costs together. These are all examples of, like, how can you be less but actually have the right conversations with someone who occupies the market where you're at? There's a lot of really inventive ways to think of it, is my point. Like, being creative in the conversation. You know, Liana, you were kind of talking about it. Like, there's different things. The question is, like, as I said, I think things land when we have intentionality in a conversation. Yeah. I really feel strongly that like the problem is like we get overwhelmed when we are having conversation, but I don't have my intentionality sorted before we have it. I at least have in my mind a couple ways I feel like we could win. Does that make sense? Like I come in a little prepared. I'm not saying like fucking show me a thesis or a bullet pointed presentation, because I'll be like, ooh, you thinking about this too hard, and you're assuming I'm a yes. But I think in your own mind and having your own notes and going, I already kind of see some facets of opportunity here. Penelope's pretty naturally good at this. She's really good at that. But I also would say like, if you really want it to be juicier, is like, not just you come prepared like how Penelope thinks about it, but like, you tell them ahead of time a little bit like, I have some thoughts. I think like if we're discussing this, I'd love for you to come to the table like with some ideas that you have, because now it doesn't feel like this one way wormy way of doing things. It's actually like, oh cool, we have kind of some anchors to chat about, and then we can decide if we have some next steps instead of it just being in the ether. Because I hate when things are in the ether. I'm like, I want it to land. That's what I mean, the law of duality. That's the point I wanted you to take away from that, is like, duality doesn't just mean like, oh, there's a first and a second. If you are the second, don't be dismayed.